Welcome to That's Joy, the podcast. I'm your host, Cece Calbanero, and I'll be sharing stories of miracles, God moments, and unpacking the truth behind what joy truly means. My friend, when God gives you a direct call on your life, be sure to answer it. Here's to answering my call together. Hello and welcome back to another episode of That's Joy, the podcast. I am your host, Cece, and I am so grateful that of all the podcasts, you decided to click play on this one today. I am so grateful for that. I share that so often just because I never want it to miss here, and I never want it to not hit. You know, there's so many options out there. And so I always believe and will always say that time is our greatest asset in this life, and it's our greatest gift. And you're giving me a fraction of yours in this moment. And so thank you. If you're new around here, you might not know that we kick off every episode with a little joyful noise. Joyful noise is our version of good news. What's the good things that are happening? How do we highlight more of that? And I just wanted to say, for starters, one, thank you for the loyal listeners who continue to plug into That Joy week after week. You might have noticed that we have skipped a few weeks and we've been a touch inconsistent when it comes to those weekly Monday episodes, but just to give you a little bit of the background as to what's been happening in my world, it's been a busy month when it comes to the full-time job. And so if you missed it on my Instagram, you can go and head over. But I recently, at the mid part of this year, started a full-time role, and September was actually our biggest and busiest month of the entire year. And so I like to say that it was kind of like our Super Bowl season. And actually last week, not this past week, but the week before that, I had the opportunity to fly to Charleston for a work trip. Now, hear me out. My joyful noise that I want to share with you guys this week actually happened there. And so while the busyness and hustle and bustle of that took place, I was tied and strapped for time. I just didn't have as much time as I would have liked to pre-record or to prep these episodes. And so we've missed a couple. So I just want to say thank you for your grace and patience and for continuing to show up for me, even when you missed a couple. And so I need to bless y'all with some bonus episodes in the future to make up for that lost time. But I have no doubt that today's episode is going to be one that will bless you big. Anyhow, let's go back to the joyful noise. So joyful noise is just good news, good things that are happening, right? Well, something so cool is a story that I want to share that happened in Charleston. Now, Charleston, South Carolina is a special place that is near and dear to my heart simply because in 2019, I had the opportunity of visiting Charleston for the very first time, also on a work trip. Now, this is for my previous job that I had where it felt like my dream role. I share a lot about that on here, but I had a dream job that I loved and was very passionate about in 2019 and got to travel throughout the United States and Canada on several different work trips. Now, this specific trip, I had the opportunity of rubbing shoulders with tons of business owners and entrepreneurs. And a lot of those relationships that I formed back then, I actually still have today, which has been so cool. They do incredible things and have incredible brands, and I'm so inspired by each of them. I also had the opportunity to meet with other people throughout these different conferences, and lo and behold, fast forward to 2024, I find myself on another work trip in Charleston, this time working at a different company. And so we were at a company dinner one night. It was actually the first night that we landed in Charleston. And it's funny because during my time, as I was prepping to fly here and also arriving here, I did have a lot of emotions resurface as far as nostalgic feelings of remembering what was, and a part of me thinking like, man, so much has happened since then, and doses of me missing a lot of those moments that took place simply because they were so special. and it was so sweet. And I just felt like this God moment is so much of my joyful noise because it was literally all God. We end up going to this restaurant. It's kind of like a smaller, not hole in the wall, but definitely Charleston based off of King Street. But if you're familiar with the place, I mean, it's like the it street where all the pop-in brands and restaurants and stores are. We end up going to dinner at one of these restaurants, and our waitress is the kindest human. She's telling us all about the menu, her favorite things, taking her time with all of it. And literally, me and all my coworkers were like, man, there's nobody, you don't come across this often anymore, where customer service just feels like it's at a raging 11 out of 10. I mean, the woman was super serving us in every way and was kind and patient and passionate. And I just think that that's such a gift, and it's hard to come by today. And so we're complimenting her as she walks away, but we never got to tell her yet. And by the end of the dinner, she actually says to me, hey, are you Cece? I met you back in 2019 when I met you and Brad. And y'all, that was such a surreal moment for me because honestly, in 2019, like I said, I got to rub shoulders with such incredible people. I got to run around these conferences and meet and hug so many women who were just passionate about wanting more out of their life. And I think that there was so much alignment in that sense. And so I got to actually take a picture and meet my waitress, Brittany, and she remembered me. And it was 4 to 5 years later where I find myself in the same city, sitting at her table, being served by her. And it just was such this like full circle moment that I had. And if for some reason, Brittany, you end up finding this episode and you're listening to it, you made my day, my week, my month, and quite frankly, a big part of what I'll remember this year. And I know that might sound crazy, but I don't want to miss moments like that because I just believe God's timing is so good. We could have eaten at any other restaurant. We could have had a reservation for any other day. We could have came a little bit later, a little bit earlier, but we had a divine appointment. And I don't want to miss divine appointments in my life. And so I actually went home that night, went to my hotel. I was going to say my apartment, my hotel room, called my husband immediately to tell him about the story. And I just was like, man, it felt like the biggest God wink that I'm right where I'm supposed to be. I'm seen, I'm loved, I'm known. She's seen, she's loved, she's known. We both got to compliment one another on our characters and how so much has happened since 2019. And man, it was what my heart needed. And so I share that because I hope that if you come across a moment like that, that feels like a divine appointment, you wouldn't miss the opportunity to speak up and say something. Or if you have an encounter like I did with her level of customer experience, you would vocalize and compliment those people around you and honestly just pour life over them, even if there's nothing in return. I just want to be the people that continue to pour life and life abundant, right? So anyhow, that's my joyful noise. If you have joyful noise that has happened in your week, month, or year, my goodness, I want to hear it. I want to be able to read it off of a DM or wherever you want to message me about something good that has happened. So feel free to do that so that I could share your joyful noise with this incredible community. Without further ado, I want to dive into today's episode. In today's episode, we're talking about accountability, but we're talking about accountability not because we want to be the police who monitors every single aspect of each other's life. I want to talk about accountability because I know that it is the very thing that we all need to get to the place where we want to go and where, quite frankly, God is calling us to go. Accountability is powerful. Accountability is essential. And accountability will be the very thing that helps you move the needle in your life to that 1 degree better every single day, right? Just like that book that I know and love and that you probably have read before. If you have not, oh my goodness, go read Atomic Habits, James Clear. It is so powerful, but it talks about that degree of getting 1% better every day. If we just got 1%, just focus on 1% every day, how much that would compound over a year. And by the way, if you got 1% less better, I know there's one better way of saying that, there's an exponential decrease and descend in growth as opposed to committing to getting that 1% better. So I just want that for all of us. And I know that a factor of doing that is that tactical piece. And y'all know that with all of the faith that I talk about in equal parts, I want us to have that tactical piece. Because if we have all the faith in the world but do nothing about it, how sad would that be? I think it goes back to the graveyard and being at a place where I don't want to get to the end of my life, and so much of my life still stayed right here and in here and never came out into the world, right? So accountability, let's talk about it. You're probably like, what are the 4 types? Well, my friends, a couple months ago, I've shared about this before, but I read the book called Take the Stairs by Rory Vaden. It is very good. It is pretty straightforward. Instead of taking the escalator, be the person that takes the stairs, but he breaks down 7 different steps to achieving true success. And I know that if you plug into that joy, you got God-sized dreams on your heart and you want to be successful in this life. Whether that looks like successful mother, successful father, successful auntie, successful business owner, successful teacher, whatever it might be, I don't want you to ever get tied up in the language of pairing success with needing to be a dollar sign. That's not what I mean when I am voicing what success is. To me, success is a life abundant, a life overflowing, a life full of joy, and a life that embodies the fruits of the Spirit. And so, that's what this book is about. He's also a believer too, which I really love and admire. But there's a part of his book that talks about the 360-degree accountability. It's based on a simple principle. If you want to do everything to influence the likelihood of your taking action, it's important to have accountability in at least 4 different relationships. Now, I'm going to outline these 4 different relationships quickly. And as I am sharing them with you, I just want you to keep in mind, like, what and who are the people in my life that this would apply to? And how does it make sense to me, right? I always want you to be asking yourself that question as you're listening to That's Joy. Like, okay, I love that story that Cece shared. How does it apply to me? Not in a selfish way that's making it all about you, but more so in that, like, let me hold that mirror up to my own life way. Like, what can I do to grow towards who God's calling me to be? I think if you're not asking yourself that question daily, then we're missing something, right? So the first piece of accountability, the first person that you need in your corner to help you grow is what he calls a supervisor. In other words, it's a boss or highly respected mentor. For me, I have recently this year started becoming mentored, and Jess Jansen actually was on the podcast, and she has been a mentor in my life this year, where I've been able to vocalize to her the monthly goals that I have, and it has helped me hold accountable. And truthfully, not every single month hits. There has been a couple of different months, especially since starting my full-time job, where I've fallen a bit short to this. But I will share is that I wouldn't have progressed as far, especially towards the beginning of the year, without that level of accountability. The second one that you need in your life is a subordinate, an employee or a mentee. I have this in my life too, where I have certain people that I've worked alongside and help train up. And I love that I get to share my goals with these people too, because it helps me hold accountable as I look to the right and left. The other person that you need in your life when it comes to accountability is a significant other of some sort. Now, whether that be your spouse or a family member or a best friend or a trusted peer, these people are essential to your accountability. I can't tell y'all how many times this year I have turned to Jonathan and said, can you help me hold me accountable in this? I'm telling you that I'm going to do this. Help me stay accountable in this. Even when it comes to fitness, him and I do this so much. Or when it comes to healthy eating habits, him and I do this so much. And what I love most that we get to do this with is in work and in the workplace. We'll share our different visions and dreams and aspirations and goals that we have with each other and say, this is what I'm marching towards. Will you help me hold accountable in this area? It's essential, y'all. Essential to our success and to our growth as an individual. The last one that he outlines is a supporter, a more objective outside third-party partner who will bring a unique, unbiased perspective. I love this so much because I love that unbiased perspective aspect to accountability. And I think that accountability is just so important and essential because, y'all, how many of y'all can say and admit that you would let yourself down far before you would let your mom down? You would let yourself down and not follow through with that diet or not follow through with that business plan or that podcast idea far before you let your best friend fall through. You just would not let down your boss that you work for or that mentorship that you were investing in. You likely would not let them down, right? But you would let down yourself first. And here's the deal. It's a beautiful thing about you. The fact that you would not want to let all of those other people down before yourself is such a beautiful thing about you. Because I believe that it makes you that much more selfless instead of selfish. I think it makes you a touch more like Jesus because you're trying to live yourself like in a position in a way where it isn't about you. I think that that is incredible that you have that heart posture. And I think that there are ways and things that we can do to put different guardrails in place so that while we still have that heart posture, while we are still selfless in so many ways, we are still marching towards who God's calling us to be, what God's calling us to do. And it isn't stopping or delaying the process simply because we have that heart. Because friends, a lot of people will not let these 4 different people in their life know about that goal, about that dream that they have on their hearts. And guess what? There's a stagnancy to that. They stay stagnant and they stay complacent and there isn't as much movement. And my goodness, truthfully, there is not as much urgency, right? And I say this and spell this out so clearly because I'm speaking from a level of experience. I've been there where I've said I'm going to do the diet, where I've said I'm going to commit to this in the work or finish this or do that. I've been the queen of that more times than I would like to admit. And now I could speak from a place where I'm surrounding myself imperfectly, y'all, but trying my best to make sure that I have these 4 anchors in my life. Because I know that when I'm anchored and when I am voicing and saying out loud, right? There's power in speaking something out loud, saying it to someone that you trust in 4 different areas. Think about that for a second. As I explain those 4 people, how many of you guys are thinking in your head, oh my gosh, if I told them the biggest dream that I have right now, I told each one of them, I'd have to do it, right? Like there's some of you who are listening right now, you're like, holy crap, I would have to do it because there's no way I would let them down. Well, I don't think that you plugging into this very episode is an accident. I think that's because you are supposed to go do that. Go tell them. Go allow them to be your level of accountability. And my goodness, don't tell 1, don't tell 2, tell all 4 of those people in your life. I know that they have come to your mind. They've dropped on your heart. Their names have dropped on your heart. Friends, that's for a reason. Don't delay. I love so much. At church, they once shared delayed obedience is disobedience. We cannot delay. Don't be the people that delay. Take action on those things. Immediately after this podcast episode is done, I want you to text and be like, hey, I know this is crazy. I just listened to this episode. Share the episode with them. Maybe they got dreams on their heart that they need to latch on to their 4 anchors to and tell them, right? We don't want this to just be for us. We are generous, okay? So share this episode with them, tell them what you are doing and say, will you lock arms with me? I need your help. And then you tell them what you're doing and you tell them a date. Tell them what the goal is and tell them when you're going to do it by. Because if we do not do those two things, we will never have a level of urgency, friends. We will wait and wait and wait. And then one day we wake up and we're 45 years old and we didn't do that thing that we promised ourselves we would do when we were 26. We'll wake up one day and we'll sit in our rocking chair when we're 85 years old and say, man, I wonder what it would have looked like if I just would have gave it a shot. I don't want that to be you. I want you to sit on the opposite end. Sit in that rocking chair and say, man, I tried everything that I could. And I am so glad that I did, because now I'm looking at my life and it looks like this. And thank you, God, for this. And God, I wouldn't have done that without you. And this is what I'm looking at now. And close your eyes and think about that. What's that this for you? It's there. You've thought about it before. And hey, maybe you've never shared it with anyone before, and that's okay. It's okay, and it's so normal. I remember going so long without sharing certain dreams that I had on my heart because I just wasn't sure that anyone would be able to receive it well. They would think I was too crazy. Like, how in the world does she think she's going to do that? Now, I've just surrounded myself with people that I know that if I shared any dream, they would say, yep. When? I believe it can happen. I see it now. It's playing like a movie. Those are the types of people that I'm surrounded with now, and I'm so grateful. That aspect, friends, just takes time. So if you don't have that yet, it's not a matter of Cece has it, I never will. It's just a matter of it's taken me some time, and maybe it'll take you a little bit more. And it's okay. Ask yourself. Pray to God. Ask Him to reveal to you who those people are in your life. Who are those for? And friends, I'm telling you that when you do this, you will propel yourself so much further than anything that you could have done on your own, keeping it all to yourself. I almost think that's a touch selfish too, because the people, these four, they're in your life for a reason. And I'd almost bet that they do anything to want to celebrate with you and lock arms with you. Please let me know how this goes and keep me posted. I would love to know, just even if you have the courage to share a dream on your heart and tell me. My goodness, DM me. Now, I can't be your mentor in a lot of ways, but I can be your friend from afar that you say, hey, I'm going to tell her a date and a goal, and I know that she's not going to be able to message me all the time about it, but I know that when that date comes, I want to be able to send her another message and say, I did it. It's not going to be a lot of you. I guess there's almost even just 5 or less of you who are listening to this who do that. But if that's you, I'm speaking directly to you, and I want you to do it. I want you to do it. Friends, thank you so much for listening to this. We've got 3 months left in the year, and I want us to end this year, to wrap up this last quarter even better than how we started it at the top of the year. Do you believe that could happen? Because my goodness, I do. And if you don't have that belief yet, I want to let you borrow a piece of mine. You've got it. You have so got it. Increase that belief and do the things necessary that you know you need to do to take action, to move forward, and to grow that much closer to who God's called you to be. You're worth it, friends. And that rocking chair is waiting for you, and the days are going to go by anyway. So make it worth it. If there's a certain part of this episode that you want to hear more about, or we need a part 2 of, would you let me know what that is? You can shoot me a text to 615-813-4813. Join the Joy Corner and subscribe to my newsletter at that'sjoypodcast.com, or you could head to the link in the show notes. Friends, if you're not following me on social yet, you can do that by following me at CCALBONERO on Instagram and on TikTok. And you can follow That's Joy the Podcast on there too. If you've not yet subscribed, rated, or left a review for That's Joy, it'd mean the world if you went to do that. Friends, it takes 2 minutes to run to Apple and write in a little review and drop a 5 stars. And then if you're on Spotify, or even if you're not, head to Spotify and smash that 5-star button. It means the world. Over 1,000 of you have already done that, and I cannot thank you enough. So thank you, thank you, thank you. If you haven't done that, please go do that. And I'll never leave an episode without saying, if you have even the smallest desire to meet the creator of the universe, or if you've already been saved but you're not really free, I want to invite you to sit at the table of plenty with me and so many others. I'm telling you, there's abundance here. There is overflow here. And my goodness, there's so much joy. All you have to do is invite God into your heart right now. He's waiting for you. He wants to meet with you. And friend, I am so proud of you. If you just made this decision, I'd love to know you. Shoot me a text to that number in the show notes so I could pray for you. I love you. God loves you. And until next time, I'll talk to y'all next time. Thank you so much for being here.